All right, there we are. We are recording.
Cool. Let's start with enhancements. Anyone from enhancements here?
Yep, I'll be filling in today for that. We do have one small change. We're now at 25 enhancements. One was kicked out yesterday. The k8m for Windows, it missed the docs deadline, so they have been pushed off to 1.16. So with that, we are at 10 alpha, 12 beta, and 3 stable.
Sounds good. Everything's green. Good to go. All right. Let's move on to CI signal. George, any updates?
Yeah, regressing the state of CI signal from green to yellow for today. So master blocking, there doesn't seem to be anything terribly wrong in there. 115 blocking, there were a couple of flags from a reboot test. We created an issue, and the C cluster lifecycle is taking a look at it. It might take some time to get to hear back from them, as that issue is related to the GCE code. It's in the realm of a cluster, and it's in the realm of the Google side of C cluster lifecycle, and those tests have been known to be constant flakes in past releases. So then we are left with master informing, which has been the issue for the last couple of weeks. So 6 scalability. The only update from 6 scalability is that for their test, they are going through all the changes that have gone into Kubernetes, and they last time I checked, checked in with them. They had 74 more commits to see whether any one of those was actually the causing failure for their test. So still more work there to be done, and we need to get a better idea of whether this actually the test failure actually tells something about the state of Kubernetes, or more about just the 6 scalability E2E testing framework. Then core DNS. So yesterday the revert to 1.3.1 was merged. So that was merged. That was merged. I think late yesterday. So just waiting for more of the. Just waiting for more of the job master informing to actually pick up that commit and run it. There was one run, GC new master upgrade master, which actually passed. So possibly the revert did fix things, but again, we need to wait more for it. This one is gonna take a while. The jobs are not very they're not run very frequently, and they take an entire day to run. So let's wait and see. Other than that, 78.851 was opened up by the people working on core DNS. That one is the PR that's proposed to allow a custom core DNS version for the QBOB way of bootstrapping a cluster. But last we checked, they decided to now block 115 on it. So hopefully the revert is good enough to just fix most of the master informing failures. And the big reason why I'm going for yellow today is so the E2E test actually provided some signal on whether upgrading with core DNS 1.3.1 was actually it actually worked. There were the kinder test, the kinder based test, which use k8s, and they were working until today until this morning. It started failing, so I'm gonna ping C cluster lifecycle and see again if we can get a quick fix, or if this is actually if this actually tells us something in Kubernetes is wrong, or just something with the E2E setup. And Besides that, so master informing also suffer from a couple flakes related to the reboot test. And that's it for today's update on CI Signal. Anyone has any questions, comments, concerns?
Sounds good. So essentially, core DNS is not a major concern, as most production environments just have it separately and is not like one-to-one linked to the release itself. So it should be okay. It's mostly about the CI failures. And the scalability issue, that takes a bit of time, but they're on it and should be resolved soonish, I think. Hopefully, yeah.
So on the cluster lifecycle side with kubeatom, it sounds like they've triaged. Lubomir just mentioned in the chat, but my understanding is they've triaged that to a tooling flake on their side. I think he'd mentioned earlier today to me a download timeout that was set too fast. So hopefully that is truly a flake. On the core DNS thing with scalability, so I see that we've got the commit for the revert on the master branch. Do we know that scalability has started a test run that includes that revert?
Last I checked, which wasn't very recently for that, I don't think there's been a test started for most of the jobs. Which is also something that I wanted to ask. Is that something that we can do manually or just wait for the next run to happen?
It's definitely something they could do manually. At this point, we're probably end of day for them, so we'd need to ask quickly probably and give them a specific, like, can you start as of this commit a fresh test, or find out when their next automated test would be starting with that commit. And then the other thing,
I know some of the scale tests, it's hard to do manually because if there's already one running, they use a lot of the same node pools.
it
So you
looks
can't
like there's
actually-
not one running currently, yeah.
Okay.
And that's kind of why I asked, like, if the next one starts tomorrow, it would be a shame to just be sitting idle in the meantime. But I don't know if, like, for sure where that is, and that's where we'd need their input. And then the other thing on that front is, once we know that they've started that, we should do a fast forward so that we have two distinct bits of signal from master, and then we start as soon as possible the stuff, anything that would be running for periodics on the 115 branch.
Absolutely, sounds good. So I'll get to ping 6 scalability and see if we can run a test with that commit as soon as possible, and we'll keep you all up to date on anything that comes up.
In the end, I don't think that it's something that is release blocking, in the sense of as the release team goes forward in the next releases, there should be a more closer relationship as to which core DNS version should be actually integrated or not, or supported.
I would slightly disagree. We don't know for sure what we're speculating that the current failure on scalability is core DNS, and we haven't gotten tests with the revert. So until we know for sure and have that triaged, 6 scalability will block release if there is an issue.
I mean that the latest version of core DNS is recommended, that it solves the scalability issues, but the concern of not having it integrated is because there are config changes and kubeadm hasn't been resolved, so there's no...
For the known failure, but what we don't know is whether the current failure in the scalability test is that.
Yeah, sure.
So they're debugging across, what was it, 74 commits. We may discover that we have another issue.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it's important to, if we think it's a core DNS fix, we need to get the core DNS fix under test to validate that hypothesis.
Mm-hmm.
In parallel, hopefully, to them doing the debug in terms of bisection on the commit range.
Okay, I thought we just reverted everything from core DNS.
But that hasn't hit test yet.
Got it. The other thing is that for that particular core DNS issue, at least one developer was saying the workaround, if we can't use 1.5.0, is to increase memory for the core DNS pods.
And
But I don't know.
Scalability said in the 1.13 release that that wasn't an acceptable outcome. And they blocked it back then. So like this is, yeah.
All right, we can move on to bug triage. Anyone from triage here?
Hey, it's me.
Hey.
Your homie. So I'm not sure what my color is at the moment. I'm inclined to think that it's yellow, but the core DNS issues have been moved to 116. The PRs and the issues associated with migrating core DNS. We bumped them to 116 based on conversation that was happening, and that was the major blocking issue from a bug triage perspective. But there are some new flaky tests that were opened by George, and so I think we want to see the results of these finishing up before saying that we're ready for code thaw tonight. There's also a new PR that was added yesterday by Jordan. Looks like this one's getting resolved. I'm not sure. Jordan, is this blocking or not? I mean, it looks like it's about to be merged anyway, so.
Yeah, I would consider this blocking.
Okay, cool. So after this PR is fixed, and hopefully we get good results from CI Signal, then I'll be fine with code thaw. Outside of that, I'm not good, so I'm going to say yellow.
Okay, so code thaw is currently blocked on these pending issues.
Yeah, that's my thought.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions for triage?
And we're so close to having no PRs or issues for 115. We're like right there.
So close. Almost there.
Can we specifically link these issues in the bug triage notes so that we can follow up them?
Yep, I'll do that right now.
While you're doing that, just for the recording, are you talking about 78633?
7885. 788.
That's the issue and the PR, yeah, Tim. 78633 is the issue, and 78885 is the PR. I can go into details of why this is considered blocking if you'd like. We don't have other things we want to talk about.
I guess for my own information, I'd be interested to hear that, but at the same time, if I think we have a full meeting to go through, I just trust you when you say that it's blocking.
The short answer is it makes workload controllers do spurious rollouts on upgrade. So it defaults a new field underneath the pod spec API object. This was partially introduced in 112 and then made worse in 114. And we just got a report of this. And the reason we didn't catch it was because our upgrade tests didn't exercise every pod or every field under the pod. So if you had a pod that used a certain subtree of the object, this new default, when you upgraded the API server, would make a new field pop into existence, and all the workload controllers would say, oh, the pod changed, I must need to roll out new stuff. And so this is resolving the issue all the way back to 112, but it's blocking in 115 because every upgrade starting in 112 to 113 to 114 to 115 would encounter this issue. So we need to fix it in all of the releases.
Wow, that sucks.
Yes, it was a fun night last night.
Yeah, good job.
And part of the fix is also updating our upgrade test fixtures so that they would have detected this issue.
Cool.
And I opened a follow-up issue to do additional checking on container restart counts and making sure the actual pod instances stay the same when we upgrade just an API server. So there's some follow-up work to make our upgrade tests more robust that we'll do early in 1.16.
Do we need a
That's all.
more explicit release note that folks will need, that we need the patches merged on prior patch branches and folks will need to upgrade to latest there before upgrading to 1.15?
They don't need to upgrade to latest.
Okay.
The fix handles both the case where they were on a bad release previously and if they had upgraded to latest patch.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Sounds good. We can move on.
Does this issue also block the 1.15 cut today?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
The cut today, yeah, I would think that we should wait until this is.
Yeah, Clayton is looking at it now. It's been reviewed and tested a couple times, and CI is green. As soon as Clayton acts it, it will go in. So I think we should hold our C1 on this.
The wall, any updates on test infra?
Hey, so everything is green, no issues on the Prow side. We had 28 PRs 7 days ago and 4 PRs on the last day merged, but everything seems green. The issues I filed yesterday for splitting out the responsibilities to different roles need updates from the owners. So that's the only thing pending. And discussion on the major issue is still going on. So, yep.
All right. Any other questions for test infra? Let's move on to docs. Barnabas.
Hi. So we are green today. We had the 18 PR not merged by yesterday, but then we managed to merge them all by today. So we have all the PR that are needed for documentation for this release all merged. We are currently working on cleaning the PR that were left out. So for those which were pushed to 1.16, but they still have PR pointing to dev 1.15, we are trying to clean that up. Also fixing merge conflict with the master so that we can have clean dev 1.15 ready for release.
Okay. From your perspective, it's good to move to Thaw, pending other issues from other roles.
Yeah, sure. We are good.
Cool. Let's move on to release notes. Jeffrey.
Yep. So right now we're working on formatting the major themes. We've gone through the external dependencies and those have been combed through and cleaned up. We'll do one more pass of those closer to actual release, but most of the work's been done. The RelNotes site, relnotes.k8s.io, a lot of that work is nearing completion and we should be able to link it in the release notes for 1.15. We should have a release notes lead decided by tomorrow, and in the notes you'll see that we have a draft. So if you want to take a look at the release notes, go there, go forth, propose changes, etc., etc. That's us, and we are green. Everything's good.
Looking good. Let's move on to comms. Taylor.
Hey everyone. Today we are green. We have started up our draft blogs. All that work is kind of ongoing this week. We were able to sync up with the CNCF PR team yesterday, kind of get the inside baseball, the extra steps that we need to perform from them and people that we can work with. We have heard back from API Machinery and SIG Storage on some of their blog posts and different definitions there. Just going to keep on continuing working with them this week and fleshing out those blogs. No blockers right now.
Awesome. Following is release branch management. Cheryl mentioned that she can't make the call right now, and she's aware of the pending PR for the API from Jordan, and she will cut RC1 after that is merged. Emeritus lead, Josh.
We're still at the same place with nominations that we were yesterday. So I'm working with the remaining leads to figure out nominations for the next cycle. I know that a few people on here are going to plan to continue as shadows, possibly for other roles on the next cycle, which we encourage. It's a good way to step up to being eventual release lead once you know a couple of different roles. But yeah, we'll keep you posted.
Great. And next is release lead updates. They are pretty much similar to yesterday's. One pending PR, which I suppose is, yeah, Jordan's PR. That's there. Next is RC1 is blocked for today until a PR is merged. Cherry pick deadline is on Thursday, June 13th, and the target release date is next week, Monday. Retro is on 20th of June, Thursday next week, and successors to be nominated soonish. Handbooks to be updated soonish by the leads over the end of the release and the gap time until the next one starts. So there is time for that. And yep, the concerns on the blocking issue before cold thaw. So any concerns, any other questions, anything not on the agenda?
I guess my question is, are we going to hold cold thaw for testing the core DNS changes?
That is a good question.
I mean, if they're doing bisect, it seems like we ought to.
Possibly. My own opinion is that like it's complicated, but with the core DNS, like I think the suggested version is 1.5.0 anyway. However, it can't be provided from the release perspective because of the configuration changes. So there could be a release note saying recommended version is 1.5.0. However, it's not like provided by default, neither an upgrade path from kubeadm. And possibly, yeah, it should be tested on CI before moving forward with the revert from that perspective, correct?
I agree with that portion of it, but I think the issues Josh is raising is that they're bisecting an unknown issue. If we move forward until we, ahead of having that triaged, it may be something else that is more complicated to patch onto master cherry pick. Once master thaws, it's going to diverge rapidly, and if we have a new surprise of an issue in 6 scalability's triage there, then it could be a release delaying event to figure out how to pull that back to the branch.
That is true, and it is noted there that it is blocked for cold thaw, correct? All right.
I'm just reading quickly again through 78.734 issue. George, had you heard from 6 Scalability that they felt we should block on this? I don't see anything about that in the issue.
So as far as I let me see if I can find that really quick. So as far as I know, they have been having a bunch of, for the last couple releases, they've been having troubles with that sort of scalability test. And in the the empirical data I can give is that in the past they haven't blocked any releases on those tests. Also really relying on the fact that it's a master informing and a master blocking test. But I'll try to find the actual place where they have the entire conversation about this, and I'll post it in Secrelist to provide more context.
Sounds good. So lacking that context, I would be inclined to hold thaw until we have word from them.
Sounds good. So thaw is blocked on Jordan's PR and six scalability on updates and possibly also core DNS. Any other concerns?
Once we figure out what's going on with core DNS, since it's likely to be complicated from a user perspective, we're going to want to make sure that's both prominent in the release notes and shows up in the final blog post for the release.
Makes sense. Let's have it for an item for tomorrow. And anything else? All right. We can get the next 30 minutes of our time back. And thank you.
Nick.
Yeah?
Yeah, Nick, sorry, I was muted. I just wanted to mention to Dewal, he'd asked me to comment on the dissolving of the test info role in 116. It's issue 631. I've commented on that. I'm okay with dissolving the test info role at the end of 115. I left some kind of conditions of dissolvement. So Dewal, if you'd like to take a look, and then we can farm out the work that needs to be done into the role handbooks to make sure that all of the responsibilities are found in the handbooks of the other roles.
Hey, thanks. I have filed other issues and I've CC'd you on them to keep track of for other
Fantastic, thank you.
leads to move the handbook issue. I think Tim Pepper also has a comment on, that covers good coverage on where test infra role is being mentioned and across handbooks. Yep.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Well, we'll keep tracking that issue. Thanks, Dewal. But I'm okay with shutting down that role for 116.
Thanks, Lucky. Yep.
Thanks, mate.
Cool. Anything else? Five, three, one, and the meeting has ended. Thank you all, and see you tomorrow in the next meeting. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.
Later.